Hi there, I'm Andrew, you're watching ThatGamerAjax, and in today's video we're going to be breaking down Veil of the Void's The Negotiator class. Now, if you like being the face of a party, if you like playing high charisma characters in something like Dungeons & Dragons, then this is the class that's going to be perfect for you. While this class doesn't really focus in anything that's combat oriented, this is a roleplay player's dream. You have a lot of inherent traits that make you just good at talking, and it is the only class in the game currently that features charm as its primary virtue, which is kind of like your main attribute in Dungeons & Dragons. So let's go ahead and dive right into this very talkative class, and let's talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses. So starting with the strengths of the Negotiator are the tactics. Now this is something that you get at the very first level. You get to pick, I think it's about 4 of them, and eventually as you get to higher levels, you'll be able to start adding more of these. Now these often have an action associated with them, though some of them are passive. My personal favorite being Not the Face, which means that you get to reduce damage that's incoming towards you by your charm virtue. The more points you have in charm, the more you can reduce it, as an example. Some of these other tactics include being able to command an ally to just get a free attack on an opponent, or being able to give an ally a burst of movement speed. So this is a class that really focuses on buffing your allies through talking more than actually being in the middle of a fight. This is also a class that is incredibly roleplay intensive. A lot of what you can do is going to be dependent on the interactions between yourself and your game master, so make sure that you talk to them before you start playing this class on what you're really wanting to do and how things might react to the words that you're saying. This is something that is going to be incredibly important throughout the entire game. Along with this is a class that also learns other languages in about half the time that it takes other people. The way that Veil of the Void works is that because you are encouraged to learn and grow throughout the game with your skills leveling up and you're able to start adding in proficiencies, it takes a certain amount of time to be able to do this. Normally it's around, I believe it's like a solid week or 2 of downtime for you to be somewhat proficient with the language. Negotiators are able to do that in half the time, and they even start the game with an automatic translator that allows them to at least understand what it is being said around them. Now, the Negotiator, while it's not a combat-oriented class, it does have 3 very distinct ways of playing the game through its specializations. Now, these are a lot like the archetypes that you get in Dungeons & Dragons, which I've mentioned before in a couple of other videos, but let's go ahead and break down what makes the Negotiator a little bit more special when you hit that level 5 mark. So starting off, you have the Agent. This is one that you kind of focus on espionage and being more like a spy player. So if you want to be something that's a little bit more stealthy and uses gadgets throughout a battlefield or through your role-play encounters, this is going to be the specialization that is just for you. Next, you have the Captain. If you are going to be part of a spacefaring crew, this is one of the specializations that I would highly recommend any party looks at having. You get a lot of bonuses from being both on and off your ship, such as bonuses to your initiative. You can command all of your allies to attack a very specific person, and you get a lot of bonuses on your ship, such as easier times maneuvering, being able to fire all your guns at once, etc. There are just a lot of ways to play this specialization. And if you really want to focus on being a dedicated role player, I'd highly recommend checking out the Ambassador. With this specialization, you get to kind of choose an origin that is going to really fit your character. If you want to get more into the politics of your world, this is one that you're going to want to check into, because one of the bonuses that you get is diplomatic immunity. You can still be booted off a planet, for example, but you can't be arrested for it. Now that we've talked about a lot of the strengths of the Negotiator, let's talk about some of the inherent weaknesses of this. Now, I've mentioned a couple of times already, this is not a combat-oriented class at all. Positioning is going to be incredibly vital. You only have light armor, and when it comes to weapons, you really don't get to start out with much. It's usually basically just like a pistol and the most basic sword in the game. So you're not going to be doing a lot of damage, but you can sit back and help your allies do that for you. You're also an incredibly squishy class. Now, the way that Veil of the Void works is when you level up, you roll a certain number of d6, plus your vitality virtue to get your health. Negotiators are one of the squishiest because they only get a grand total of 1d6 plus your vitality. And with the way that you kind of build this class, focusing on charm and probably your finesse, that way you're at least decent with the weapon, that's going to be one of your low scores. So be prepared to just sit back. That's going to be vital for you. And this is a class that's also incredibly GM dependent on how you play it. A lot of what you do is going to be through cutting words, and it's going to be very reactionary on your game master. So if you have somebody that is great at being able to improvise along with you, then you're going to have a lot more fun with this class. If compared to somebody that might be starting out as a game master for Veil of the Void. So in conclusion, this is a perfect class if you want to be a party face, if you want to be very charismatic. It's the only class that kind of focuses on this for the time being. I would actually recommend this as a class for new players. I actually had somebody that tried it out in a one-shot and actually seemed to really enjoy it and had a lot of bonuses that made the entire encounter, from my perspective as a game master, a lot more difficult than it really needed to be. But there's not a whole lot that you have to track with it, and you get to just talk a lot. It's a lot of fun. So we're a little over halfway done with the class guides for Veil of the Void. You can check out some of the other videos that I've got probably around this area, but thanks for watching, and I hope that you stick around and hopefully we can teach you something about this much smaller tabletop game that I feel a lot of Dungeons & Dragons players can have a ton of fun with, because there are a lot of aspects to both of the games that are very similar. Until next time.